Hello students, today's agenda is to check homework. We're going to be plotting points and you are going to be able to work on 12.6, meaning page 6. Today students will be able to graph a linear equation by first finding order pairs. Order pairs are also called coordinates or points. Okay, the first that we're going to be using is y equals 2x plus 1. And here we have the coordinate plane so that we can graph the points. But first, let's find those points. So for the points, you can either use coordinates like this, or you can use a table. So I'm going to put the table maybe right here. And it's exactly the same. So if I put x and y, these would be x and y, just like x and y, like in the previous lesson. So each row is one coordinate. Okay, so let's give value to x. In here, in the previous lesson, they gave us values of x. In here, we have to make them up. And I recommend that you look at the equation. If it's adding a positive, then I recommend using more of the negatives or smaller numbers, okay? So in here, I'm going to use -2. For the next one, I'll use 0. For the last one, well, for the third one, I'll use +2. And just another one, any other one to make sure that they align. Okay, now that you chose your values of x, remember in here they let you choose them. Sometimes you're given those values. Okay, so if you have those values, it's the same as if you put them in there or in here. So it's exactly the same. See, same values. Okay, so now we're able to find y. And again, just like in the previous lesson, all you're doing is substituting. So I'm going to do the first one. Y equals 2 times x, but we know that x is -2, so 2 times -2 plus 1. So we now simplify. 2 times -2 is -4 plus 1. Negative and positive, in addition, if they are different, we subtract and keep the sign of the bigger one. So 4 minus 1 is 3. And the bigger sign is negative, so the answer is -3. So y vale -3. Okay, and you can put it here, or you can do both. It's up to you. For the next one, x is 0. So y is equals to 2 times 0. 2 times 0 plus 1. So y equals 2 times 0 is 0 plus 1. So y equals 0 plus 1 is 1. So the value of y is 1 when x is 0. The next one, we're going to replace 2 in x. So y is equals to 2 times 2 plus 1. We simplify, and 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1. And 4 plus 1 is 5. So the value of y is 5. And finally, the value of x is -1. So y equals 2 times -1 plus 1. So basically all you're doing is substituting this each time, right? So y equals positive times negative is negative. 2 times 1 is 2. And then bring down the 1. And so y equals, remember when they have different sign, we subtract and leave the sign of the bigger one. So 2 minus 1 is 1. And the biggest sign is negative. Now we're ready to graph. And again, this is a linear equation, so those points should align. the first point is negative 2 for x, so 1, 2, you go left. Negative 3 for y, so you go down. 1, 2, 3. That's my first point. For the second point, you don't move on x, you stay there, but you move on y, which is either up or down. Since it's positive, you go up. The next one is 2, 5. So 2 to the right because it's positive, up because it's positive. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's right there. And I notice already that the points are aligning so far. And then negative 1, negative 1, negative 1, negative 1. So it's right there. So you can see that all the points are aligned. So that means that my points are correct. If I get something wrong, then like one point is over here, that means that that's the wrong point and possibly the rest are correct. Okay, so we're gonna draw the line and then put 2 arrows, meaning that it goes infinitely on both directions. Okay, so that's the first one, the first example. If you need to copy it, you can pause the video. Okay, so in the last video I showed you that you can just solve for y so that you can have it y by itself like this, or you can actually just replace the value of x in the way it is and then find the values. So I think for this one I'm gonna solve for y and then show you, well, I'll solve for y and then from there start looking for the points. So I'm gonna do it here first. If I have 2x plus 2y equals 8, what I want to do is isolate the y, leave y by itself so that it's like the other equation. See how the first example, y was all by itself? So I want that. Before the equal sign, I only want y by itself. So I cannot get rid of this 2 that is right next to my y. I have to get rid of this whole term first. And since it's positive, I'm going to subtract 2x on both sides. This cancels. And so on this side, I'm going to end up with 2y. I'm going to bring down the equal sign. And you have to be very careful in here. We cannot combine variable terms with constants. So I'm just going to copy the negative 2x and put plus 8. Okay, they are two different terms, they cannot combine. The last step is that if you're multiplying, the opposite is to divide. And so this cancels. So y equals. Now in here, when you are dividing by 2, it means that this term has to divide by 2 and then the other term has to be divided by 2 as well, because there is a plus sign in the middle. So I said this is like the pretzel. You divide each term by 2. Negative divided by positive is negative. 2 divided by 2 is 1. And then x. Usually this 2 is not going to take place, so it's just going to be x. Remember that the coefficient 1, we do not write it. Then positive divided by positive, positive. 8 divided by 2, 4. So my new equation is now y equals x plus 4. And that's exactly like that. It just looks different. Okay, they are the same, because I just put it in terms of y. Now, having that, I can choose the 4 points that I want to do. And I'm going to choose the same values. You can choose other ones if you want to. So I'm going to put negative 2, 0, positive 2. Recuerden que pueden poner ustedes otros valores si gustan y van a salir diferentes puntos, pero va a salir la misma línea, okay? So it can be the same. It's going to be the same line. It doesn't matter, like if I have the line like that and you might have other points, like only these points, but you still get the same line, and that's what matters. Okay, sorry you didn't see that. So I might have these 2 points or these 4 points, and you might have something different than me, okay? But it's the same line. Okay, so now that I have, this is the equation that I'm gonna use. Y equals x plus 4. So y equals x, but instead of x, I get rid of x and put the value in its place, which is -2 plus 4. So y equals a negative and a positive. I subtract and leave the sign of the bigger one. So 4 minus 2, 2. And the bigger one is positive, so it's going to be positive. The next one, again, use my new equation. So y equals, instead of x is 0, right? That's its value, plus 4. And 0 plus 4 equals 4, so y is 4. For the next one, I take away the x and its value is 2, so y equals 2 plus 4. And so y equals 2 plus 4 is 6. And finally, y equals x, which is -1. Remember, we're substituting the x. And then plus 4. So y equals, now, different signs, we subtract and leave the sign of the bigger one. 4 minus 1 is 3, and the bigger one is positive, so my value is 3. Okay, and here it was 6. Again, if you decide to use the coordinates, that's fine. If you want to use the table, that's also perfectly fine. Now we're ready to graph our 4 points. So -2, 2. -2 means left. I don't place the point in there only until I finish with this one. +2 on y means up. 1, 2. Remember, always left and right first, then up or down. 0 on x, meaning I don't move. 4 on y, meaning up. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's my point. 2, 6. +2, 1, 2. +6 means up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right there. -1, 3. -1 on x means left. +3 on y means up. 1, 2, 3. Right there. And now I'm ready. I can almost immediately see that they are aligning, so that means that we're doing good. Again, remember to put the arrows, meaning that it goes infinitely. Some teachers are not picky, others are. So that's that. Okay, let's do another one. Again, if you need more time, just make sure you pause the video. Okay, again, we want to leave y by itself. So I'm going to do it in here. 2x minus y equals 8. Again, I want to leave this part by itself. Right now it has a negative in there that shouldn't be, and a 2x that shouldn't be there either. So I'm first going to get rid of this term. If I'm adding, or if it's positive, I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. I bring down the negative y. Don't forget the negative, it's right there. It belongs to the y, so it didn't disappear. These are not like terms, so I'm going to put the -2x first, and then plus 8 for the next one. Finally, if this is -y, that means that there is a -1 in there. To get rid of the -1, I'm going to divide by -1 on both sides, and negative divided by negative becomes positive y. Okay, so positive y. Now in here, remember that when we have a plus and there is something dividing, that means that each term is going to divide. Okay, I call this the pretzel. And so negative divided by negative becomes positive. 2 divided by 1 is 2. And x you just bring down. Positive divided by negative is negative. 8 divided by 1 is 8. And so that's what we get. Hopefully we'll have enough space here. So now that's the new equation that we're going to be working with. Y equals 2x minus 8. Again, you can choose other value. Let me choose something different. Hopefully we'll have enough space. Let me think of what will be, since I have a negative in here, I think it will be better to use more positive numbers to get numbers that are canceling that. I'll choose one negative, but just it's gonna kind of go out of the graph. So I'm gonna choose -1. I'll choose 0. I'll choose +2. And I'll choose maybe I'll choose 3. Okay, so now this is the new equation that we're going to be using. Remember that these two equations are exactly the same because this comes from this one. Okay, exactly the same, but this is written in a form that we're going to learn later. It's called the standard form. This is called the slope-intercept form. Again, we'll look at that later. So again, we start y equals 2 times the value of x, which is 2 times the value of x, which is -1, minus 8. And so y equals 2 times -1, positive times negative is negative. 2 times 1 is 2, minus 8. Same signs, we add and keep the sign of the bigger one. Okay, mismo signo, se suman y se queda el signo del mayor. 2 plus 8 is 10, and the bigger sign is negative. Okay, so the value is -10. For the next one, y equals 2 times 0 minus 8. 2 times 0 is 0, minus 8. And when we have 0 minus 8, it's just -8. Okay? So that's the value of y. The next one, y is equals to 2 times 2. We're just replacing the value of x with the values that we chose. And so 2 times 2 is 4 minus 8. So y equals, different signs, this is positive, this is negative. We subtract and leave the sign of the bigger one. So 8 minus 4 is 4. And then the bigger sign is negative. So -4. The last one is y equals 2 times the value of x, which is 3, minus 8. 2 times 3 is 6, minus 8. And so, remember, different signs, subtract. Signos diferentes se restan y se queda el signo mayor. So we subtract and leave the sign of the bigger one. 8 minus 6 is 2. Bigger sign is negative, so this is -2. Okay, again, if you wanted to see this in a table, you would have used -1 and you get -10, 0, -8, 2, -4, 3, -2. And you can use only one. You don't have to do both. Pueden usar solamente una, no tienen que hacer las dos. So -1, -10. I'm just going to go a little faster with the graphing. -1, -10. Whoops, I only have until -8. So again, -1, -10, only -8, so I'm just gonna go 2 more, about right there. 0, -8, 0, -8, right there. 2, -4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Notice that I go down because it's negative for y. 3, -2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, right there. Notice how the points aligned well. That means that our answers are correct. This is kind of out of line, but it's just because I don't have the squares and I probably didn't place that well. So again, if you decide to choose different, you might get a point in here instead of the ones that I got, or somewhere else where the graph goes. Maybe you got this one. So it doesn't matter what values you choose, but sometimes if you choose the ones that are gonna you might get numbers that are way off the coordinate plane, which is still okay, but that's the risk. Okay, so now you can work on page 6 and have fun.